drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a big warm welcome to the Barsteward's Inquiry Sunday Sermon. Crackerjack of a show we've got for you this week. We're actually tipping, which is a very rare occurrence for us Barstewards on a Sunday. We tend to just talk rubbish and and that's it really. But no, we've got two corking tips for you. John's got the best one. You'll be very excited for these. These aren't idiot picks. These are good prices. So make sure you stay tuned when we get to those. So joining me as usual is John. Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon, Chris Lorne Malver.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We're here to chew the fat on some racing topics, answer your questions and comments, which I've got wrote down here. And obviously we're going to start off by going through the two key races of the weekend. None of the Shergar Cup nonsense, rubbish, absolute rubbish. We'll just get to the point where people want to know, and these are the races of interest. That's the Phoenix Sprint that took place at the Curragh on Saturday, and the Maurice de Geest Deauville today was won by Highfield Princess, the filly. So we're going to review these now, John, and we're going to start with the Phoenix Sprint at the Curragh on Saturday, and a very, very impressive win from Little Big Bear. Really impressive. What I noted, whether it's my eyes deceiving me or playing tricks, but size form came into play. It's as if Little Big Bear has been growing and growing and growing, and been in the greenhouse, and the others haven't.
It's like 1 minute he was a little big bear, and now he's a big bear.
Big bear. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on him physically, because he looks like he's quite barrel chested. He's quite, he's got all the attributes to be a real cracking 3-year-old.
He's really deep, isn't he? And he's seriously well put together. I mean, it kind of reminded me of Nijinsky when Nijinsky was taking on other 2-year-old. I mean, he's like an eagle next to a load of sparrows.
Yeah.
For a better expression. He's thoroughly muscled up, and he kind of looks like a 3-year-old already, sort of thing. I mean, he doesn't look like the type of 2-year-old that'll say that'll make up into a nice one, get a winter under his belt, because he's already a nice one. Yeah.
And it was mentioned on this show when we were reviewing the Anglesey, and I did mention that the 12 or 14 to 1, I've seen worse guineas bets at that time after the Anglesey and looking at the sectionals. Obviously, it's not that now. It's a best price 5 to 1 for the guineas, which is obviously a lot less appealing to most people, I would imagine. But where does it stand with you, Little Big Bear? Like, on A, getting the mile, and B, is this the real deal? Are you convinced now that this is that it's going to take a real amazing 2-year-old newcomer to kind of usurp Little Big Bear's performances this season so far?
Well, I mean, if you put him away now and went straight to the guineas, what price would you make him?
He would be, I would imagine, just a guess, 11 to 4 favourite, something like that, 5 to 2.
I mean, you literally can't crab what he's done on the numbers. I mean, I wasn't rating the 2-year-old as high as the official figures this year, which is kind of typical. I'm generally 4 or 5 pounds behind where they officially are. I had Persian Force on 106. So you Persian Force at 106 for the SGV.
Monster.
You're looking at 127 already, aren't you?
Well, right. Let's do some number crunching, and let's look at how if I was handicapper, and I'm better than the official handicappers. They had Blackbeard top rated, for God's sake, in the race on official ratings. Idiots. Right. This is, and I've read a lot of tweets about Little Big Bear and saying it's the hype machine. G Hart's been on saying this is the typical hype machine. This is not hype. I will guarantee you, G Hart. you are wrong on this one. This horse, basically, if you take a line through Big Gossy, which is the oldest sprinter, like forget Go, I mean, it's done a similar time to Go Bears Go, which in itself backs that up. And I read even a trainer or someone put, it was only half a second faster than a sprint handicapper. This sprint handicapper has won by 3.5 lengths, absolutely gagged up, off 80. An older horse, so it's not run to 80, has it? It's run to 90 at least. Probably that's on the conservative side. You'd probably say 95 to win a sprint handicap by 3.5 lengths. So if you take that, I'll go on the conservative side and say it's run to 90 then, right? So it's £28 weight for age at this time of the year. So if you add the 90 then on to 28, that's 118. If you then had on the half a second faster that Little Big Bear ran it than the sprint handicapper, that puts it up to 124 and probably a bit more. I'm being really conservative. I'm trying to dumb it down. And then Big Gossy carried a pound more than Little Big Bear, which brings it to 123. 123 is the absolute bare minimum I can get this horse on that performance. That brings out like the likes of Persian Force at 103, which is below form, £7 below form. Shartash at 101, might be a little bit under. Bradsell obviously didn't run its race. It stumbled. It missed the kick. It wouldn't have got near that if it had pinged the lids. It just wouldn't have been in the same parish. And physically, it didn't look anywhere near what Little Big Bear is at the minute. So anyone that's crabbing this performance and saying this is a hype job, this is absolute bullshit. On the numbers and the clock and the form figures, everything that I get to points to this being one of the highest rated figures I've given a 2-year-old, probably since Frankel. And that's going some. That tells you the level that this horse is at. As for staying the mile, I mean, if we, John, let's bring the stride form. 24.66 feet was the stride length in the Windsor Castle. I've got no data on the Racing UK tracks, but certainly 24.5. That would suggest, as a 3-year-old, that should be a mile, no problem. That's perfect for a mile. So as he matures and progresses, Praceway, he won the Anglesey equally impressive, and that was like 6.5 furlongs nearly. Over 7 furlongs right now, you wouldn't be worried, would you?
You're only talking 300 yards to get up to the mile, aren't you, from 6.5?
Yeah,
he's out of a bearing mare, for fuck's sake, you know. Now, you can't really have a lot of worries about the Guinness trip, surely to God.
No,
you know?
I mean it's a weird page. The family's just not done much. They've obviously bought this at the sales. I think physically they've obviously seen something, and obviously that's what they've seen, and they've paid a lot of money for this at the sales. So Coolmore have been ultra shrewd here, because there's absolutely nothing to knock this. You can't. There's seriously people that are knocking this. You need another job. You just. I've got to say it. I'm sorry to be brutally honest. You need another job if you're knocking this horse, or you're saying this is a hype job, or this is not the real deal. This is the real deal. I would challenge any 2-year-old in training to try and beat this over 6.5, even 7 furlongs. Not a prayer. Not a prayer. And it's 123 minimum for me. Like John says, if you take it literally, it's 127. So we're massive Little Big Bear fans. Like 5-1. It's one of them, really. You could argue two things. Obviously, it's a long time between now and May. Things happen. You get injuries. Am I taking 5-1? No, I'm not. I'm not rushing, because I can back a 5-1 chance at Plumpton on a Monday, or Leicester on a Wednesday that I think's a 5-2 chance. So there's no point me taking 5s right now. But to say it's a hype job, and I've read certain people saying this on Twitter, idiots. Agreement, John?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No hype to this. I mean, it's provided the substance.
Yeah, everything, all boxes are ticked, and we should be excited by this horse. This is one that like I've given it the best 2-year-old rating since Frankel, and I find no reason to doubt that on any level. And I'd back this horse if people want to take this on. Fine, keep taking it on. I'm not bothered. If this runs over, if they go for the Dewhurst later in the season, whatever, I don't care what turns up really.
I hate giving them marks in the 120 as 2-year-olds, but I had absolutely no alternative with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Persian Force. That like I said, that it comes out at losing. I think it's like £7 off his best Persian Force to give it something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4.
I mean, I think the Racing Post ratings are interesting because they're only berserkers, aren't they? And
yeah,
they've given Persian Force 100. Why £10 below thumb?
Yeah, I know it's a strange one. I actually think, despite people saying on Twitter about this is a hype job, I think they're underrating this. I think it's amazing because when Native Trail came on the scene last year, everyone was going, Big Bar Blitz. Everyone was like, this is a second coming. And yet with this one, I've seen a mixed response that this is a hype job. And the evidence is key, and they're wrong. They're absolutely miles out. This is an absolute serious racehorse. And like I said, there's not been a better 2-year-old since Frankel. And so
what does O'Brien say? I didn't catch it all yesterday. What was his reaction to it? What does he say?
I didn't hear. John, what did he say?
He tipped it for debut.
He tipped it on debut.
Video doing the rounds where he's going through some early 2-year-olds and he says, this might be our first runner, blah, blah, blah. And one of them says, can I have a tenner on it? And he said, a bit more than a tenner if you want. And they were all chortling away. So the lads probably laid the shit out of it on debut while all the saps got stuck in. And since then, they've been raking it in.
Yeah. This is the real deal, folks. If you're flat fans, if you see a better 2-year-old than this by the autumn, I will be. Well, no, I'll be pretty. It'd be a privilege to see a better 2-year-old because it means we've got something very exciting for 3-year-old campaigns. But this is better than Native Trail. This is better than Caribas. This is the real deal, and people need to accept that. If you don't accept it, then I'll keep taking the odds when you're trying to lay me or whatever. If you don't believe that this is the real Little Big Bear, very, very good horse, without question. Okay, we'll move on to the Maurice de Guise today, which I'll confess, because no one likes an after timer, and I did my bollocks on the race because I saw the handicap in the race before, and the low numbers towards the stands rail got absolutely were tailed off. So naturally, I then dutched the front end of the market that were all drawn high, Perfect Power, Artorias, and Naval Crown, trying to be clever, thinking, well, the high draws, I know what I'm doing here. And literally leaving the traps, they all migrated towards the centre to far side. So I even said after a furlong, I'm fucked. In terms of edge, I wasn't sure whether I was going to collect or not, but I was fucked in terms of my reasoning to go big on the front three in the market. So I was left in my speedos as the tide went out. John, did you watch the Maurice de Guise today?
I did. I spent most of the time wondering who Maurice de Guise was. I did watch it.
Is it like the hairdresser type, Van Geest? For the criteria.
I actually googled it. There was a Maurice de Guise went down in Flanders, but
was that? Was that a ship?
A battle.
A battle. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we try and find things. I mean, John's quote. When I used to say the Criterion Stakes in the market, used to be sons by Van Geest, and John ad hoc comes out with it. Sounds like one of these like Kensington hairdressers,
Van
They do occasionally make me wonder these race titles, I just think, well, who is he, I sort of visions of this Maurice Chevalier type fella pouncing around on the Bois de Boulogne, but...
Yeah. Anyway, we'll come to the review of the Maurice de Geest over a strange trip. 6.5 furlongs for a Group 1 contest. Again, I read a lot of tweets on run up to this. Nick Palfrey, who's a good contributor to our Twitter feed, he was like all over Artorias saying the extra half furlong. It was all a bit disappointing for some. Perfect Powers off the bridle early. What was that all about? Perfect Power, John?
Unfathomably bad, really. I mean, I suppose the July Cup run wasn't what everybody was hoping for, but this was miles worse, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was beat after. It was completely off the bridle after about 2.5, 3 furlongs. It was just.
He's like a horse that Ascot's completely bottomed, didn't he? Really?
Yeah.
It's as though that's absolutely got to the bottom of him. He wants leaving alone for a while.
I mean, some of the reaction after the race that if Highfield Princess wins the Maurice de Geest, which, by the way, Quentin Franks was very keen on Highfield Princess at prices on the Friday show. He said that's over. I think it was 20-1 Friday or to that ilk, and he was quite bullish. But I think the fact that Highfield Princess has won, does it leave like a bit of a, I don't know,
it turns it into a wallpaper result for me.
Well,
it's on the wall, but you don't really care whether it's there or not. So.
Yeah. Well, this is where I'm gonna. I've said obviously everyone knew my view on the Friday show about Rohan in the Hackwood, and I was very confident. I said it's savage order, amazing sectionals at Ascot, and Holly, I think, just got it wrong. She literally got. I mean, Golf Club was going berserk after the Hackwood when she got there too soon, and then got headed by Minzal, and the rest was history. Today, Rohan deserves extra credit because it was stall 1, which was the worst of the draw, absolutely unquestionably. I know people say, well, it's all low draws. 4 won it, 5 were second, 9 were third, 1 were fourth. No, they all migrated across. So if you have to migrate across, that's a disadvantage for start. You have to go sideways from your draw. You can't. You have to go diagonal. You can't run in a straight line. So it's not an advantage. So stall 1 was dreadful for Rohan today. It latched onto the back of the pack. I've got the sectionals from France Gallop, and stunning, absolutely stunning sectionals. Rohan was the best horse in the race. It was unquestionable the best horse in the race. It did the last furlong in 11.63, by far and away the quickest. It's run the last 600 metres, 3 furlongs in 33 and 2. Phenomenal, savage form, absolute savage to do that from that position. I believe, it's not ideal having to move across, and the Haydock Sprint Cup is on the horizon for Rohan, and the 16-1 available is absolutely mustard. You have to take that price. This will be no bigger than 6 or 7-1 on the day, max. You'd be lucky if it's not. Right, this horse is in savage order. It's underrated. People just think it's Dave Evans, it's Dangerous Dave, blah, blah, blah. This horse is just been in savage order the last 3 runs. The fact that it's won the Wokingham, it got a bad ride in the Hackwood, and equally today, it's finished off late, not quite getting there, but it's had the worst of everything. It's had the worst of the draw. This is the horse to take forward. This horse should be disputing favouritism or roundabouts with the likes of Creative Force. Haydock suits a closer perfectly because you often get that westerly wind, which people don't take into account why Haydock is difficult to make the running over 6. If you get that westerly wind to boot on that very day, then you've got headwind for the front runners and you're there tanking behind the runners. What a bet this is. Rohan, 16-1, take it, John. Chris, this is the real deal. It's in savage order, and I've not seen a better anti-post bet for a while. like I said, if it turns up on the day and circumstances are favourable, i.e. the wind, or etc., and we haven't got a daft draw or anything on a wing, I think you just need luck in running to win. That's Rohan. Savage order. That's my Morris de Geese. John, thoughts?
Can't argue with any of that, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, the 11.63 for the last furlong just absolutely blew me away, because that was despite having to make up ground faster than Artorias, it was still faster than Artorias in the last furlong. So everything points to this is a proper. This is in Group 1 shape, and there's absolutely.
Make a good point earlier about you're right, because it's Dave Evans. That's the sort why you're getting that kind of price. If it was any Newmarket yard, even an unfashionable one, that would be half the price, guaranteed. Yeah. Wow, Dave Evans, he's good with handicappers and pulling off the odd touch, but he's not really that caliber of trainer. So which he absolutely is. He's a smart guy, but you're getting double the odds because it's Dave Evans, but he's not in that class, in quotes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason, and the figures don't lie. This is up there with the likes of Creative Force. No problem whatsoever. You just need the luck on the day in terms of a decent draw, a headwind ideally. Just to slow them down on the front, and then you can, if you time your run right, you're going to win. And 16 to 1 is absolutely ludicrous, especially when Minzal, the idiots are backing Minzal, I think into 8s, 9s or whatever, because it's finished second. This will piss all over Minzal if it gets a run. I mean, it would have pissed all over Minzal on the hack, would it? Had she not done lung busting fractions to get to the front too soon in the Hackwood. So again, just absolutely use your brains, people. Rohan 16s. John, I'm coming on to you now because you've got a corker for the Ebo.
Well, I think I have. Yeah.
I think you have.
Yeah, we discussed this earlier. Seems like ages ago, actually. It's
pretty recently, yeah.
It's only about a week, isn't it? Because I rang Lane and spoke to him and said, keep an eye on this on Thursday night. I think it'll win the Aber. And I didn't say anything that changed my mind. So I've decided to put it up now at, I think, 40 to 1 best price.
50 still with billiard ball, and he's paying 5, John.
Oh, well, does he still sponsor it? No, doesn't Sky Bet now?
Yeah, he's packed up now.
Yeah, it'd be nice to shove one up his ass while they're still sponsoring it. The horse in question is License, trained by Lions. He's a horse that I've sort of kept half an eye on throughout his career, actually. He's out of a mare called Emollients. It was a proper hard-running judgment mare by Empire Maker that would have gladly run up the A19 to get to York. Sounder than a brass bell. Wonderful performer on proper firm ground in America. If it came up really quick at York, would have absolutely no worries whatsoever about this lad. He'd be rolling along when a lot of these would be crying enough and wincing at the impact. He started his career with a 6-length win in a maiden at Doran back in June last year. Then he came out this year and only on the second start of his life ran half a length second to Lafayette, who was a bloody good yardstick at the level, I think, listed class over 10 furlongs. And then he appeared to bomb out when 100 to 30 for a similar sort of race where it was actually a Group 2 that Lafayette won. He finished last of 7, giving the impression he lacked a bit of toe, but there was a veterinary report afterwards saying he took a really good blow afterwards. Then we got a notification he'd been gelded, which again was interesting because I don't know why they haven't gelded him at the end of his 2-year-old season, really. I mean, he wasn't really stallion material for me. But he wasn't physically there. And I think what Gurr has probably done he's given him time to grow into himself and then had him cut when he's got him where he wants him.
Yeah. Like you said, colts will grow. The sooner you geld them, they'll stop the growing, won't they? Yeah.
Mm. So I think that was quite interesting when he's chosen to have him gelded around the start of the summer. Then he's missed 2 engagements through unsuitable ground. Once was, unsurprisingly, when it was soft or heavy at Roscommon, and another one which was a little bit more surprising, good ground at Dromore. But then he surfaced last Thursday, and I did step up and took a few quid at 50s in case he went and did something stupid like won the race, but Colin Kane rode him exactly to my orders that was spinning round in my head, where I didn't want him to get anywhere near the front and just show me that he'd been relishing another couple of furlongs. He did all of that and more. He looked fairly slack before the race. I was highly delighted. I rated him £3 below his official figure in that race. I think given quick ground, a strong pace, I think this is probably the only one in the top 25 in the list for the Ape that's got the scope to find £10 on his current form. So I've had to have a bet. I did think twice about putting the horse up today because I have absolutely no idea whether the Ape is the target or not. But at the end of the day, you're all big boys, and I don't really give a fuck whether you win money or not. So you can choose to either have a crack or not.
Well,
you know?
I mean, you've certainly. I think you found one, and I didn't think that before the race on Thursday, which shows your talents, John. Because I said to you, and I'll tell you the exact conversation, no lies. I said, "Will this stay?" And John said, "Well, I said that's exactly why." I'm exactly why I'm fancying this. I think it needs it. I think it needs the stamina. So anyone watch that Leopardstown Group 3 race? Well, they're talking Cleveland for the Melbourne Cup. Gear up, very useful yardstick. Beamish, drugger to me. In third, his horses are just like always out of the skin. And this horse was basically not off. I mean, if you just watch Leopardstown running, it was just. We'll just have a little float and see where we're at.
Maybe bet you'd be Jimmy Lynn did it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, honestly. So like straight, like when John said it, I initially sort of I half poo-pooed it. I thought, well, will this stay? It's not got the an immediate pedigree to suggest this is going to be extended mile and 3/4 horse. But yet at Leopardstown, it showed it's every inch of a mile and 3/4 horse. And it also showed a lot of promise as well to suggest that 103 is very fair. And, this could run six or so above that, which would be very close in an Ebor. And to say that, this is 50s, 40s, this is a very, very good bet. I think John has really done well with this. And
he's only had 4 races, there's half of these fuckers had 30.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so unexposed. So this is an exciting pick, and I hope you all have a look at this. Especially, just watch the Leopardstown run, and I think you'll agree with us. I think you'll see that this has got a really, really good chance. And I'll be amazed if they don't run John. So I know you're saying, well, because he's also in the they've put him in the Irish St Ledger. 13th of August,
which probably wouldn't suit anyway.
Sorry, no, it's the trial. Sorry, it's the trial stage.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just read the first half. So they're not going to run it. Why would you run in that? For not.
I know if you think you're going to win a Group 1 eventually, which Irish legs of trial would tend you to think you're going to win a Group 1. Why the fuck wouldn't you run for 300k or 103?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. I'll be astonished if they don't take the Ebor option after that eye-catching run at Leopardstown.
And the weather forecast set for 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He literally is going to be pretty dry ground. Of which, coming to one of our listeners' questions, very funny comment here. Paul S knows the score. He said the proposed hosepipe ban.
Yeah.
and its impact on the mental health of clerk of the courses across the UK. What? I mean, this it's like the needle in it. It's like the crack cocaine. You know, if you take the watering can off them, you know, hose pipe bans, this, that. What they're going to do? You know,
you'd have to fasten Prosser in one of them rooms with a water feature in, where it's the same half gallon of water going round and round and round, just to soothe him mentally.
The dog could be hiding. Kids would be terrified. Your dad's having one in one of his moods, leaving home and pacing the garden. You know,
Prosser, Cooper. You fear for them, don't you, Chris?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what they're going to do if they just say you've got to limit your watering, or you know.
Yeah, I mean, Marathon's better pay some fucking overtime. I think for there's going to be a lot of very unhappy clerks. I mean, Christ, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, good tweet, Paul S. That definitely some withdrawal symptoms from some of our clerks.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so just covering off finally the weekend, we had some fun on the Friday show, and if obviously I know lots of people don't listen to both, but the funny thing was on the Friday I had a really funny comment from Linda Perrett, who doesn't train many winners, as we know. She's probably 1 or 2%. A lovely lady, by the way, and I know for a fact she looks after her owners, and I've no doubt her owners get a fine price when the land touches. But the funny thing was, at the end of the interview from Gordon Brun, she said, "Oh yes, we're really happy at the moment because things are going well, the horses are well, and Uncle Peter's just come back from Hong Kong," and and as soon as I had to rewind it on the Sky Q, and I'm rewinding it just to, did I hear that right? And then when she said, "Yeah, Uncle Peter's come back from Hong Kong," and then she's just won with the Chinese Spirit, she's just won with Monhammer at Musselburgh. And I'm thinking, this is a 2% trainer, and they've bolted up. They haven't just won; they've won on the Billy Idol, right? So I made a funny tweet on the Friday show saying, well, she's got 3 runners, well, 3 or 4 runners on the Saturday night at Ayr, and then she goes and lands a treble. And if you watch the last one, and you look at the form book and tell me how that can win that easy. The other 2, fair enough. They got, they were running well, and but the last one, you're thinking, it's very average form.
Big P in time form stands for Peter, right? That's what everybody needs. I could do with a fucking Uncle Peter. I feel like shit. So if he's listening, come round and invigorate me. So yeah, extraordinary. I mean that is. I'm no statistician, but wow, that is variance, isn't it? You're right. A trainer that has an incredibly small strike rate. She would, despite being a lovely woman, I'm sure. One of those yards, you think, how on earth do they keep going? They must be subsidising it from, other businesses, or they must have an absolutely incredibly loyal core of, local owners, because, she doesn't win on the all-weather. It's not one of those that, that churns out winners on the all-weather. They just don't train winners, and yet. You've got 4 winners in the space of
5? They've all had the Canadian in the last 2.
That's amazing, yeah. So we all need Uncle Peter,
I mean, that's the thing. It was a flippant comment. It was one of them as we know, because I've covered this on past sermons. Seth Fishlake in America that developed the drug that could not be detected, by normal testing. And it was sold to Dubai. It was sold in the Far East. This is not conspiracy theories, by the way. This is online. You can see it in the court case that happened. Seth Fishlake has gone to prison for his actions in the US, and this you can see. So I'm not talking conspiracy theory rubbish. This is clients. He said his clients range from Saudi Arabia, Dubai, the Far East, Britain, Ireland, was all his clients. And this was a drug that could beat detection, right? So what I'm saying is, I know it's flippant, and I'm not insinuating Linda Perrett, not all. So please don't. But it's just a bit of fun as well. It's just saying, like, Uncle Peter's returned from Hong Kong, aye. It literally is that. And You can read into, but these are the things that as race punters we have to look out for when we're trying to find bets, because naturally, you've got a yard like Chris has just said that it doesn't train winners, and then they have a 5-timer in essence of the fancied runners over the 2 days. So these are things to look at and keep your eyes and ears open for. Read between the lines, like people do in stock market. Everything else, where there's a little where there's a little grift, you've got to look for them. But it was a bit of fun, and Uncle Pete looked after all and sundry on Saturday evening up at Ayr. Right, that covers the review off nicely, and we're going to go on to some racing topics of the week. I tell you where we're going to start. We're going to start on the obvious one that it's the Shergar Cup and Racing League. I mean, some have questioned also the wisdom of running the Shergar Cup, Racing League, and the Sky Bet Series all within sort of 4 days. Bit of overkill, perhaps. What's you guys' thoughts on all the shenanigans that we've had this week, Racing League, etc., etc.?
I don't mind the Sky Bet Series being on the corresponding Sunday, if you like, because that's not a load of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just bet on that as per normal, can't you? You're not looking for team colours or who they represent or whether they might ride tactically or whether Vinnie Jones is going to turn up.
Vinnie Jones and Mick Quinn.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we think to the? I mean, right? We know we're dinosaurs, and we're not fan of these formats. But I mean, the one thing that I've never understood from day dot really with all these new formats is the colours. I mean, surely to God, you'd have a set of colours like for each team that was distinguishable, both in caps, both in. I mean, what is it all about when you're having to stare at I mean,
they've had long enough, haven't they, to make Team Yorkshire's colours blue with a white rose?
Yeah, just and distinguishable caps. That's all you got to do. Make sure that each team has a very distinct illuminous, if you like, whatever. I mean, it's when I used to design my colours, I always use or for past syndicates or past horse ownerships, I always used to make sure that my cap had got something different on it, so that if you were struggling to spot your horse in a mid pack, you could see the cap and you'd know that was you if something else had got similar colours. So remarkable that with so far down the line with these projects, and yet we still produce a set of colours that everyone's staring at them and running and going, I can't tell which is which. Is that and it's just.
Plus that way as well. I think I made this point on Friday night. If you looked in the Racing Post, you didn't know which team your horse was running in.
No,
that's true. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes, like I said, Chris, you're not backing a team concept, are you? The trade paper's not backing it.
Exactly right. We all said previously that racing and punting is not emphatically a team sport. But if you do want people to embrace the concept, at least publish the team details in the racing industry's trade paper, for goodness sake. That's absurd, isn't it? It's just, I don't know, nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, Ewan Hutchinson's been on, and he said, never mind that Shergar Cup bollocks. I'm wondering if Drunky Tadop's ride on the aptly named Alligator Alley qualifies for a Jimmy Linley. He appeared to find every blind alley on Turf Moor. What I would say to that is, yes, I agree. He'd given up because Skidmark had crossed him, I think, about a furlong and a half out as he was just about to make his challenge. And he probably thought, well, there's a furlong to run. I'm going to look after the horse. So I don't think there was any kind of not off malice in it. It was just one of them things where if I'd have backed Alligator Alley, say if I was the pilot and I'd have backed Alligator Alley, as they get off, I'd have waited for Skidmark in car park. I would. I'd have kicked shit out of him.
Will he get into Symphony Sprint at York?
Not sure. Not sure on ratings, but yeah, I think he would. Yeah, I think he would.
I think that'd probably be something to wait for.
Yeah, I mean, so fair play. So Ewan, I know what you're saying because I backed it as well. I had a pre-play bet on it. I felt it was the right race for it, given the headwind at Doncaster that night. I thought it'd get the right ride, which it did. He got the right held up ride, but sadly, like I said, I just kicked fuck out a skid mark in car park and said pull them tricks. Pull them tricks, and you know you're going to get it because it was a bad trick. He really did cross him. He just literally veered and just right in front of him for no reason really. He was going nowhere, but yeah, it was a tough beat for favourite backers there. Well, second favourite backers, but it was a tough beat and one to keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, as these concepts, I mean, what are we trying to achieve, chaps? Are we trying to achieve more punters to the sport, new punters to the sport? Is this going to appeal to the youth of the sport?
We're keeping the illusion going that the people at the top know what they're doing and they have a plan, and that's all it is. You know, because it's going nowhere. There's no way of quantifying how many people are coming back to racing, having attended these as the first race meeting. The usual gurning gimps are on the gravy train with it. Photos of the fucking restaurant at Doncaster, what's waiting for them and all the rest of it. It makes you absolutely sick. They're all take-out merchants. The fact that Mick Quinn was anywhere near it made me blood boil. It's just typical BHA codswallop. No thought gone into it and unquantifiable bullshit.
Do we think the BHA get a bit of a hard time there?
No, do we fuck? they're on good salaries and they do zero. They do absolutely zero. Nothing that they do is quantifiable. There's no sanctions for shit performance whatsoever. When was the last time anybody got all over the coals? Load of bollocks, that.
The shirt was defending the BHA on the racing debate today with Matt Chapman. He was saying the BHA always get an absolute, shit full of abuse.
Yeah, and they always will from this quarter.
So we're telling them.
Well, if you're going to talk like that.
I take a slightly different view. I don't think they are completely clueless in terms of the sport, but because they're not punters, they don't understand that gambling is part of racing DNA. Why people ultimately are attracted to the sport and will continue to go racing on a regular basis, because you get the team concept and you get sort of pop concerts. These people are not going to become regular race goers. They're going to come occasionally, maybe twice a year or for a stag do or for a birthday, but they are not going to go to their local sport because they are not being marketed to as in terms of the gambling. It's marketed as a day out. The whole team concept is, oh, look, it's just like football and the Ryder Cup. No, it isn't. People follow the Ryder Cup and the Ashes because they have a common belonging to, England versus Australia. Let's give it to the Aussies. Ryder Cup, let's give it to the Yanks. There's no kind of, ownership of those teams. I don't know what the names are. I don't know what they stand for. They're not different enough to kind of get any kind of brand loyalty or whatever the buzzword is. Because, it's totally divorced from gambling. And people, it will fail. Absolutely will fail. If it, being measured, no one knew was attracted to racing as a result of the team, the team sport aspect of the sport.
Yeah, this is the thing. I've said it. The lack of belief in the product. It's like it's a weakness in society, really. I mean, it comes in real life from government, no backbone to rebel against the antis, really. So in racing's terms, the antis or gambling's bad. There's no one standing up on a the head of the. If I was the head of the BHA, if I was powerless in certain aspects of the fixture list and things, which they are to a degree, I would still be standing up there with a lot of backbone, sticking up for racing's core product, which is betting. and saying it is, and standing there and repeating it and making sure I was in the papers, making sure I was on TV, making sure I was keep repeating the line that this is a pastime enjoyed by many, and this is the core reason why we have race goers going to tracks.
But you've got to also question their marketing now. You know, they're looking to appease all the antis, and yet, you know, I think one of the team captains is Mick Quinn. You know,
that John said, yeah. I mean, like,
you know, the fact that hasn't sort of hit the mainstream media means that no one gives a fuck. No one's aware of it. Because if they're aware of it, they'd publish stories about it.
I mean, exactly that. Because can you imagine? Let's say it did get a lot of traction. The Racing League appears in the mainstream press, which it hasn't, right? And all of a sudden, Mr. Animal Rights Abuser, then the Guardian do a feature on it, and then the Racing League then is dead. Yeah. The wider masses, they just go, well, that's just disgusting.
Totally, but the fact it hasn't been picked up by the Guardian means it has no resonance outside that tiny bubble of people who are involved in it. You know, even people in racing aren't. Well, we're not terribly clear on how it works and the concept and the overall goal. So that's a savage indictment of the marketing skills of the people who put this together. You know, it's mad.
Yeah, it literally is. I'm all for trying different things, but I read another article today in the Racing Post on how to attract younger audiences, etc. I'm just really sorry to report back that it's complete utter shite. I don't know what path these younglings are thinking, but literally, horse racing only has one marketing ploy, which is betting. You know, but obviously race courses have a different view because they obviously class them as like outdoor boozers. But for the product itself, the only way that we can get better audiences into racing is to promote betting. And as we've said on this show many a time, how can we do that when the Gambling Review is potentially going to stop any fun or any sort of big staking betting action?
Well, it's not, is it? You know, I take the view that ultimately the sport is doomed unless there is a complete about term in terms of the way gambling is viewed by government. I can't see it going any other way. And the only time the BHE will jump up and down is when people are heavily restricted, they're walking away from the sport or not betting as much and the funding's affected. Then the BHE will start jumping up and down. But by then it'll be too late.
Yeah. John, I mean, what would you do? I mean, the race courses at the moment are not complaining as such, but they're all reporting falling attendances. You know, people aren't like turning up to the sport like they used to. Do you think they shoot themselves in the foot though, going like a lot of race courses going cashless, things like that?
Absolutely. You've got to cater for your audience, and there's still the vast majority of people want to go racing with a few quid in their pockets and spray that few quid around, you know, be it with the bokies at the champagne bar or whatever. You know, I mean, they don't like using the card all day. They tend not to know where they are if they keep using the card, you know. I mean, if you've got a wad in your pocket, you can keep track of it, really, and you know, when you start getting to the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Goodwood, when we went last week, was a cashless bar up there. I pulled out some money, and the woman looked at me like I sort of, exposed myself to her. Well, I did that anyway. but it's like, what's the matter? Oh, well, it's card only. I thought, what? You know, it's mad. But, that's the way, society's going. But it's an anathema. Racing, John's right. If you go racing and you're a bit pissed, it's easier to get into trouble if you're drunk with a card. At least if you've got money, it's like, well, I've run out of money. That's it now.
Well, an example, let's say you're a few lads on a stag do, even whatever, somebody's birthday. You go to the books in the ring. You have 50 quid on a 4-to-1 shot. It wins 250 notes. You get paid out in, probably in Scottish. But yeah, you get paid out, and then you go to the bar and you think, right, like John says, like let's have champers for all. Yeah. Go to the bar. No, it's card only, sir. I mean, what?
And do you as an individual, sorry to rant about this, but do you as an individual want those sort of transactions appearing on your current account? Because I've seen tweets from people where, I know, loan companies, mortgage companies, what's that transaction?
Yeah, exactly. Gambling is bad. I mean, we're into territory now where like Orange Man bad. It's like Trump's bad. Gambling's bad.
You're encouraging people to take it easy on the betting front.
Yeah.
And then the courses are encouraging people, in a lot of cases, to take their entire life savings onto the track.
Whilst they're drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's like on ITV racing. It's acceptable. It's acceptable to be completely off your
Come
nuts.
pissed. Bring your card with all your worldly cash spends on, and you might do the fucking lot.
Yeah.
and then you need to be protected. But God forbid if you do the lot on an afternoon, you need to be protected.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute load of shit. And this is where I'll take issue with the shirt on Chapman this morning, saying the BHA, get a lot of harsh stick. Well, they do, because if they had a leader that would stand up for the product and would absolutely back this product and say, we're not having this, this is absolute rubbish, then it might carry some traction in the media, the press, and all of a sudden you start to shout back against these noisy campaign groups.
You'd have somebody at the front with some charisma and some bite, rather than wallpaper in human form like we've got now.
Okay, look at daytime TV or kind of, chat shows. How many pro-gambling advocates appear on them? None. But you see wife, you see people who've obviously endured hardship as a result, but you don't get anybody on those programs standing up for responsible punting. Why not? Because there isn't anybody credible that they can wheel out in front of Holly and Phil and talk about why it's a pleasant pastime for the overwhelming majority of people. Yes, vulnerable people must be protected, but ultimately 90% of people have a bet and do so, within their financial boundaries.
Wait out in front of Holly, like.
Possibly not. I suspect that might not be
It's never going to run that one, is it?
No.
But there should be somebody credible. The BHA's media savvy, TV savvy, that they can wheel out to sort of counter all these arguments. Because TV companies, always try and get an opposing view. They always say, look, we're having a discussion about X. I mean, I know people who work in the media, so we want someone pro, someone against, and obviously
the managers on GMTV once had somebody speaking up for fucking pedos, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Right. We can't find somebody to advocate for betting.
Yeah, exactly right. That hit the nail on the head. You can find an advocate for that sort of behaviour, but not for betting. Why not? Why aren't the BHA pushing themselves to be part of this debate? Whenever Shilton is missing on TV, there should be somebody else, pro-betting, pro-responsible betting, countering the argument. But there isn't. So they have free reign, don't they? All gambling bad, isn't it terrible, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so we'll finish the show on one question from Martin Coyne on Peter Shilton. Peter the Great reckons gambling is a problem, but racism is not. He stated that if the English team in his day had a team meeting and 10 voted to take a knee, he would have refused. What does the panel think? Is he a Democrat or an autocrat?
He's a cunt.
Chief Gammon himself. I mean, the one thing with Peter Shilton, I can tell a few facts on this case that I don't care if he gets lawyers on me because I know I'm right. Basically, he was losing money, not to the amounts he says he was, right? And the only reason he stopped gambling was because his missus found his bank, went through his bank statements and made him, and basically gave him the fucking, that's it. If you don't stop this, we're out, and I want you going to gamble as an element. So this is why he's turned into this saint on gambling. Because
it's a grift, isn't it? That's the job. But he wheels him out. I mean, I don't know how he's being remunerated, but maybe they have one eye on a sort of part of a quango. There've been books written, etc. It's just another grift. As part of, professional victim.
He's had plenty of grifting gigs. I mean, he was on that Farage show on JB's, wasn't he? Where he said there wasn't a problem with race.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's a grift, and there are professional victims in every walk of life who do rather well out of it. Actually, decent salary, talking at various events, with all the X's that go with that, books, etc. It's not bad. If you can get profile, you can be a professional victim and make an income out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've hated Shilton ever since he came with his anti-gambling thing, because I know for a fact he'd still be if he hadn't met the missus, he'd still be betting to this day. I mean, he was literally sponsored by Betfair and everything else, literally around the same time as when he came out and
I tell you what, Lee, I've got an awful lot wrong in my life, right? But there's two things I'm really proud of that I got thunderingly right, and that was Corn Ovett, I was with Ovett. Shilton and Clements, I was with Clements.
So yeah, old Ray Clements. Ray So if you were Ray Clements and Steve Ovett, you were on the right side of history.
Yeah, you're on that.
Absolutely. No, I can't argue with that.
It is it's hollow. It's something to generate income and profile, and that's it. They're not. There's no actual meaningful change being wrought as a result of these TV appearances. I'm sure they're not measuring whether, as a result of people seeing Shilton and his missus, better stop gambling now. Nobody knows.
No, it really is. It's a dreadful time for racing, but we hope we've covered a few interesting topics there, and we're going to end the show right there. We're going to be back on Friday with some kind of input tips to people. But we hope you've enjoyed the show. That's all from me, John, and Chris. Bye for now.